Is it John Gray?
Pointing out since.
Still here in Ways and Means, and
I'll change your comment.
it's still May 6th, and it's 10:30. We are picking up 328. Cam is gonna take us through some amendments with John when he figures out that share. Nope, not with John. Okay, just with, great.
I'm just gonna
All right. And they are amendments that I'm hoping our committee can offer because the bill is here, but it is at the request of the House General Committee. But we're not going to vote on them today. We're just going to take a look at them and consider our lot. And okay.
Okay. For the record, Cameron Wood, Office of Legislative Counsel.
John Gray, West Council.
Walk through an amendment. Madam Chair, as you mentioned, this is currently drafted as coming from this committee. So amendment to S 328 from the Ways and Means Committee. So and it's amendment to the House Committee on General and Housing's report. This doesn't remove anything. It's just adding 4 new sections. So first instance of amendment here, starting on line 6 on page 1, is going to add a reader assistance heading and 2 new sections. Currently in 2023, didn't need to do it now. In 2023, Act 47, you all passed to add the rental housing revolving loan program within the Vermont Housing Finance Agency. This is a revolving loan program that is designed to provide subsidized loans for developing rental housing to serve middle income households. In 2023, when you all enacted that program, you put it in session law. My assumption of why it's in session law is because at the time, it had the language that stated that the requirement to implement the program was contingent on funding. So you didn't want to put it in statute. It received funding in that year. And it is a revolving loan program, arguably designed to go into perpetuity.
It'd be very weird to have a short-term revolving loan program.
Yes, ma'am.
Very
Yes,
confusing.
ma'am. And so it was amended last year, and there was a request from VHFA to amend it again this year. So at this point, I felt that it's best to put this into statute as opposed to leaving it in session law. And so this is what you have in this first section 5A. It's simply stating that the intent and the purpose here of the next section is to codify that program in statute. And the last sentence here is just stating that the loans that have already been issued will remain in effect and in accordance with those terms and conditions when they were executed. So we're not trying to repeal anything that was done. We're simply trying to transition the program over and put it into statute where it belongs. And so section 5B is adding into for the Vermont Housing Finance Agency chapter, a new section 629 to govern this program. All of this is underlined because it's going into statute, but the only things that are changing in the program are the highlighted words on these pages. So everything else is remaining the same. What's changing is here on this page 2, line 15, and then page 3, line 7. The program is designed or was initially designed to serve middle income households. And so what you have is the program only subsidizes portions of the dwelling or the development that are going to be the affordable portions. And then you've built in that the definition here for affordable is up to, or excuse me, it's currently 65 to 150% of area median income. And VHFA wants to remove that floor to state up to 150%. So now the developments could serve low income individuals in addition to middle income households as well. So that's the actual change that's being proposed in the program by VHFA, is to remove that lower floor. So instead of households earning between 65 and 150% of area median income, it would just be up to 150%. So the change is there on 2, and then there's another change here. This is subdivision 4 is calculating the maximum amount of loans that can be issued for a given project. And one of the conditions here is it allows 150,000 per unit for each unit that is affordable to a household earning, current language is earning between 65 to 80% of area median income. This just removes that lower threshold again. So opening up the program to more lower income. Opening the program up for development of rental housing for lower income individuals. Those are the changes. There's a few other things highlighted because these are just editing. So the editors, we have recommended adding criteria here. The agency has to develop the program that meets the following criteria. So there's no substantive change to adding that word there. We've added a conjunction here on page 5. And then at the very end, page 6, there's currently an annual report requirement for this program, and VHFA asked if that annual report requirement could simply be referred into their annual audit report that they have to submit to you on an annual basis. So as opposed to having to submit 2 reports, one for this program and one for their annual audit report, this language says that they can include information about this program within that annual audit report that they submit to you. So trying to kind of maybe whittle down on the reports that are required to be submitted here. So no substantive change there in that section. That's the first instance of amendment. Adding those 2 pieces. Second instance of amendment.
Wait, I saw you pause. Okay, great, sorry.
Question.
Yes.
You flipped by the conjunction.
Yes.
And those are so important, so I just wanted to see it.
So it's the program that they have to build, that VHFA has to build, which is currently operational at this point, has to include a streamlined application process, outreach education plan, and then so you would want an and there, and an equitable system for distributing investment statewide. Yes, ma'am. Agreed, very important, right? It was an or. It would be different. I would defer
Oh, wait
to,
a second. Geographic, community size, yeah. All right, that's pretty good. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Quick thinking.
Okay.
Community
Second.
size.
Okay, second instance of amendment, just for orientation purposes, that the 2 sections that you see here, section 7A and 7B, are doing the same thing in 2 separate places. Section 7A is amending current law that applies to TIF districts, and section 7B is applying current law that applies to CHIP. They're both related to tax increment financing, but the reason they're included here, this is related to how special assessment revenue bonds, which are included in S328, right? We've talked about that before. Those bonds that are not backed by the full faith and credit of the muni, but are backed by special revenues. This is trying to solve a practical problem that could arise with the interaction of special assessment bonds and a CHIP or TIF. If you think about it, if you want to preserve the ability for both to function in the same area, you need to ensure that the special assessments are available for the bonds that they back. If they were not available, those bonds would become useless, right? And it would potentially be hard to market them because you don't want to buy a bond for which there's not going to be any backing. So under current law and the language that you see here that's not underlined, you can see that all property taxes assessed within a district, and it'll be a housing development site per CHIP. It's the exact same change in both places. All property taxes assessed within a district shall be subject to the provisions of this section, which is the tax increment itself, the retention that you take from the increment generated within a tax finance district. So that sweeps in as a kind of property tax special assessments. So they are swept in and they would be subject to retention in the same ways that other property taxes are within a TIF district or a CHIP housing development site. At that point, they wouldn't be available for the special assessment bonds, right? They would be swept instead into the retention of those bonds would become useless. Existing law makes some exceptions related to special assessments so that they aren't completely swept into the retention pieces of tax increment financing. And that's what you see, again, not underlined. Special assessments shall not be considered property taxes for the purpose of this section if the proceeds are used exclusively for operating expenses and not for improvements within the district. So that's one exception that already exist, but the premise of having an exception is that the special assessments are in the first instance would be swept into that district. So the new language is trying to prevent the obstacle that would happen if you tried to have a special assessment on top of a TIF or CHIP, or vice versa, if you already have a special assessment district, and then you were trying to create a TIF district or CHIP housing development site. It's saying we want to preserve both options. And so the new language says special assessments shall not be considered property taxes for the purpose of this section if the special assessments secure a special assessment bond issued pursuant to the new section that authorizes their creation. So this is trying to ensure that the reason that the special assessment bonds are included in the bill in the first instance are to add a new tool to the toolkit, is the kind of common language folks have talked about. Adding this language ensures that you don't have tools that conflict with each other. That's the idea. If you didn't have this, the special assessments would get swept into the retention, and therefore it might be harder to use bond would essentially be useless. So this is trying to preserve both options for the same area.
Thanks. Any other questions for Kim and John about this? Yes.
This is an amendment that our committee is going to offer. And we're attaching it to S 328.
That we went through yesterday. Yes. That had mostly familiar language on it.
Can we do another amendment or another section to this amendment and suggest that the source of funding for TIFs and CHIP be the general fund instead of the ed fund?
Oh, that's so fun, Representative Brannigan. I don't know. That seems like a big kettle of fish very late in the session, but I think it's really fun. Do you want to maybe work that through a little bit and then come back to us with it?
Do I have till noon?
No, we're not going to vote on it
Oh, we're
today.
not.
No.
Oh.
May I try to explain why that is hard?
Sure. Thank you so much, Andre.
It's actually impossible.
Oh, very impossible?
I said impossible, but
Okay, yeah. Okay, we're ready.
when I say impossible, what I mean is it would no longer be tax increment financing. It would just be a different program entirely, because the way that tax increment financing works is that you are retaining a particular percentage of the taxes that are otherwise applied, right? And so the primary tax that we're talking about is the statewide property tax, is of course what is flowing to the ed fund. So if you wanted to, it sounds like what you're asking for is a financing program to develop infrastructure that is just not tax increment financing, which that sounds interesting
What I
too.
really want to do is get it out of the ed fund. Because
Right.
people who are paying that money don't know that their money is being used to build houses. They think it's being used to support their schools, the statewide school system.
Yep.
They don't know anything about the housing.
No, the genesis of your request makes complete sense. I just mean to say that it would no longer be tax increment financing, because the way the program works is by using ed fund revenues. Like that is the program.
So why don't we just do that? Just say, this is not TIF, we'll get rid of that, we're just gonna take it all out of the general.
Like, I don't know that I'll let others, I'm just trying to explain why within TIF you wouldn't be able to do what you're asking for, but you could. And I think you see this in other bills, right? Different financing programs to try to generate housing and infrastructure that don't rely on ed fund. It just happens to be that this program, that for whatever reason got a lot of excitement last year, is predicated on using ed fund.
And you want to do that for CHIP and TIF?
Because they're both slipping the same money.
Or is
Well,
that-
you know, I don't know if I want to even bring this to a vote, but I just want you to know that there are other ways we could do this without
Oh,
what we're doing now.
one thing I've pointed out to a few people in the context of veggie, for instance, is that if it was a grant program and not a tax incentive program, it would never have to come through Ways and Means, and that might be something that people would like. I don't know. Representative Higley.
I just think right now it would be such a huge lift because the general fund is money is spoken. So to do it at this point would be almost impossible.
Almost.
Almost, I said almost.
We are transferring some money out of the general fund and putting it in. We don't do that, then there's more money in the general. And so I know the money that TIF scoops out isn't enough to cover that transfer. But, I mean, I don't know. I can see where we can't afford to do it this year.
Or we could say that we're actually doing it. I mean, I don't know if I actually believe what I'm about to say, but maybe other people will. You could say that the general fund transfer this year is intended to cover part of the costs of TIF. If you wanted to say that.
I like,
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions about these amendments?
We're not voting on this right now.
We're not, no. We're just gonna leave it sitting there for a while. Cam and John, do you have anything else?
we are voting on it.
We are voting on it eventually.
I don't wanna screw it all up, just, I mean, don't be scared of that, I'll probably.
I don't feel scared at all.
Okay. I'll try and sneaky.
Okay.
I recall that we voted on a tax increase to pay for houses a couple of years ago.
Thank you, John.
Yes, the House did. I don't know if Representative Bredigan did, but the House. did.
Oh,
Yes.
I said, a couple of years ago, we voted and a tax increase to pay for housing.
Yeah, was it school tax? Was it?
No, it was
Property?
income
That
tax.
was a additional income bracket on the top 1% to pay for the creation of new housing.
Oh,
What a
wow.
great idea that was, Madam Chair. If only there was a way to plug the transfer. All right.
So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna take another quick break. And then, we'll have, everyone, if everyone could please be back in their seats promptly at like 2 to 11, because that's when, is that right? No.
Changed it to 11:30.
Oh, okay.
I
Great.
tried to change it back.
No, I think we're gonna be back here at 11:30 to hear 2 amendments.
Those are on S 325. And we started at 11:30.
Indeed. I know, sorry. Maybe we can finish it all by 11:45.
But that's
Yes.
11:30 to 11:45 exact.
You're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, love you talking.
We'll see if so there, as happens with floor amendments, they're in, all, I believe, in natural resources right now being heard down there. And so we are gonna try to get them after. I thought that this time with Cam and John would go slower than it did, given how the rest of our morning has gone, but apparently not.
I can try to get them back
Okay.
at 11.
Okay,
So
great.
why don't we check back in at 11?
Okay, great.
Or, yeah, or even quarter after, or
Also, Bridget has to go present the charter.
No,
Nope.
more, they just rescheduled it.
Oh, great, okay.
Tomorrow then. Yeah.
because I didn't leave at 11:30.
Okay.
I can hang around till 11.
I'll send you a text.
Very important.
Either way,